Hey guys, welcome back as always. My name is Leyzar and it's week 2 of the Incarnon adapter rotation, which means, well, you might have picked the Latron, and trust me, you're gonna be very happy that you did. But you gotta pick one. Which one should you upgrade? Should you go for the Prime or should you go for the Wraith? Because these are the top two Latrons and the stats are a little bit different between the two. So first of all, before you make a decision, we gotta compare the two weapons because they are different, each with their own pluses and minuses. So we got the Latron Prime versus the Latron Wraith. Accuracy, ammo maximum and ammo pickup are gonna be the same. However, the Wraith has a slight edge when it comes to fire rate. Now that slight edge will become a larger edge when you actually mod the weapon for fire rate if you're gonna choose to go that route. Magazine is gonna be the same, noise alarming of course, reload on 2.4 seconds, which was honestly the bane of me playing with the Latron. The 2.4 seconds for that magazine of 15 is a bit on the cumbersome side, but thankfully we're not gonna have that much of an issue when it comes to its evolving form. Trigger semi-automatic, so with this one you go shot by shot. Now the damage, critical chance once again in favor of the Latron Wraith, and it's only 4%, but again when we're gonna be modding this one, depending on what talents we got to choose, it's gonna be making a bigger difference. Critical multiplier is the same at 2.8x. As for the status chance, this is where the Prime pulls up ahead and by a pretty significant amount. 26 for the Prime, only 14 for the Wraith. As for the damage, once again the Prime pulls out ahead, big style, almost 50% extra damage, 90 versus 62. As for the damage layout, it's essentially the same proportions, only the Prime simply has more damage. So what you gotta take away from this one, the Wraith has better critical chance and better fire rate, but the Prime has better damage and better status chance. Now let's have a look over at Cavaliero and see exactly what those coordinate adapters are going to be doing for each of these weapons. Talent level 1 doesn't matter, this is basically enabling the Incarnon form or the evolution. Level 2, this is where things start getting interesting, and I see that they put the more interesting talents now at level 2 instead of level 4. This one will be getting you 6 base damage for the Prime, but 12 on the Wraith version. So you see what they're doing here is kind of balancing out the damage. Even though the Latron Prime has like 50% more base damage, almost 50% more base damage, you're gonna be getting more base damage from these evolutions, 12 instead of 6 for Riddle Target, and for Swift Punishment as well, 6 instead of 12 for the Prime. So the damage will be evening out a little bit, not completely, but still. The effects, however, are identical. On Puncture Status Effect, 25% multi-shot for 8 seconds stacks up 4 times, so 100% multi-shot. I don't need to tell you that that's huge, especially coupled together with the increase in base damage, because that is not just plus 12 damage, that is base damage, so of course everything is gonna be working off of that, like we saw in the case of the Bratton. Wait, was that? You didn't build your Incarnon Bratton just yet? Well, you definitely should. It's a fantastic weapon, and if you want to see what it's capable of, look at the cards right now. As for Swift Punishment, with sprint speed 1.2 or higher, which is most Warframes, if not you can simply mod for sprint speed, plus 30% direct damage per status type affecting the target. Please read carefully how this one reads. Hey, condition overload! Yes, but it's kind of better because it's direct damage. Yes, 30% direct damage per status type affecting the target, and once again this talent will be identical between the Latron Prime and the Latron Wraith. Essentially at evolution 2, what differs between the two is how much base damage you get, and it's entirely lopsided in the sense that the Wraith simply has the superior talent because the active effects are essentially the same. But keep in mind Riddled Target, which might end up being best in slot on Puncture Status Effect, and you know that the Prime has a much higher status chance and it's gonna have an easier time to generate those puncture procs, and I think it's the first time in history of Warframe that we're actually gonna be chasing some of those puncture procs. But realistically speaking, a couple of shots and you should already have this buff to 100%, once again Riddled Target. Evolution number 3, now this one, I'm gonna spare you the trouble, is identical for both. Have a look at this one. Marksman Hand is the first option, 60% weapon recoil, and you do need recoil reduction on the Latrons because they do kick like a goddamn mule. The Prime worse so than the Wraith, but it's minus 60% for both. So when it comes to usability, the Latron Wraith is a bit more streamlined than the Prime. I believe they made this change in recoil and in handlings to carry on the mythos that the Prime does a bit more damage, hits a little bit harder. So you're looking at 60% weapon recoil, that's an excellent slot. Essentially, you have an exact mod that reduces your recoil by 60%. It's not really worth it. Increases magazine capacity by 15. Now that is huge because technically both have magazine capacity of 15, so you can read this one like increases magazine capacity by 100%, but it's a fixed amount 15, you're going to 30, considering the reload on 2.4 seconds. If you're not gonna do anything about it, might as well have a big magazine. So there you go, that's a pretty good talent. We're gonna have to see if this one actually does something for the Incarnon form as well, because Marksman Hand, if the Breton is any indication, the Incarnon Breton, that one is gonna be working both on normal form and an evolving form as well, or Incarnon form. And Marksman Focus minus 30% zoom. No, just absolutely no. And as you can see, the talents between the two at tier 3 are identical, as they are at evolution 4. And this one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I did not expect them to just slap the same talents on both, and I'll explain why that is. First of all, flensing spikes. Flensing? I don't even know what flensing means. Remove 20% of enemy armor per puncture status effect. Once again, we are chasing that puncture status effect with riddle target. These two, of course, synergize beautifully together. So that means 5 procs, enemy armor gone. And you fantastic people know that when it comes to high level targets, one of the problems with them, actually the only mostly problem with them outside of the damage that they deal, is the fact that they have a lot of damage mitigations. But if you can remove the armor simply by shooting them, I mean 20% per puncture status effect with enough multi-shot, you can remove all of it at once. Now that is freaking huge. Deadhead, 100% to the headshot multiplier. I still see a lot of Tenno that don't really understand what the headshot multiplier is. What is a location-based multiplier? What is the bonus you get if you get a crit? And how exactly, or where exactly should I hit enemies to get this headshot multiplier? Because you see, Amoa doesn't really have a head, but it does have a fanny pack. And its fanny pack bonus multiplier is different than the one on something like a Grenier. There's a lot to talk about here. Click the cards right now for a full and detailed guide on how critical chance, critical damage works in Warframe. Trust me, it will serve you well to know those effects. And finally, my friends, critical parallel, 24% crit chance and critical damage 0.2. These look to be base modifications, just like we have in the case of the Breton, 24 with 0.2. Here's what I expected to give less to the Vandal and more to the Prime, but the talents once again are identical. And of course you're wondering, okay fine, which is the best considering everything? Well, Wraith only has the advantage at level 2 and that's about it. We're still going for the Prime. Latron Prime is definitely the way to go. And I would upgrade it right now, but apparently I need to go maw fishing again. But that's pretty much gonna do it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. As always, my name has been Leyzar, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, and here's a link for some cool Duviri vid. Watch it. It's good.